Hi, I'm your host, Chris McNamara, founder and CEO of Pathway CTM. We help young people all around the UK get into great opportunities and careers. We're here today on behalf of Bill Torbay. This podcast is interviewing David Carter, who works as Director of Regeneration at Torbay Council. It's a really interesting podcast. He's a really important person in terms of regeneration. Give it a listen and let us know what you think.
Yeah, thank you, Chris. I'm David Carter. I'm the Director of Regeneration at Torbay Council. My role is to deliver the change, physical change and the social outcomes that go with it through regenerating Torbay.
Amazing. David, regeneration, what does that mean?
It means, Chris, changing value, and it means both the value of buildings, the value to society. When an area's value has fallen, the effects of decline, what's called deprivation, and all the associated issues that go with that, higher crime rates, lack of employment opportunities. Regeneration is to change those fundamental things and increase value for everybody.
Great. And so you're the man behind making that change?
Yes, I suppose I am, yes. And there's a range of things that we have to do. It isn't just me and the team that do the physical buildings and the change to the fabric of the place. It's all the other people that work with us, because the buildings have to be used for something. The place has to have visitors because it needs to be vibrant. And ultimately, what you're trying to do, particularly in 2025, is create congregation in places where people used to congregate. For example, they'd come shopping on a Saturday or a Sunday. Now people congregate for leisure activities. So you're just trying to change what a place is used for contemporary society. And that's a posh way of saying it's what people want to do in 2025. And we have to change our place to serve what people would like to do.
And may I ask, what do people want to do in Torbay in 2025?
So you just look at how leisure's changed in your own lifetime. From people now want to have active participation. There's far more emphasis on physical and health and mental well-being. So places need to create that environment. It needs to be clearly laid back, but it also needs to be stylish. People want to be seen to be stylish. But acutely, it's about giving people a different adventure than they might have wanted 25 years ago. We live in Torbay, which is a seaside place predominantly. Visitors know it because it's the sea. It has beaches. But what people do with water is a completely different thing now than it was certainly when I grew up. We were taken to the beach and we built sandcastles traditionally. Now there's a whole lot of other activities that people can do on the beach and in water sports. That's a fantastic opportunity for local businesses to take part in that. Some of that requires us to put infrastructure in place to make it happen. So we hope to be the mecca for paddleboarding in the UK, and that's something that we want to exploit. We're very fortunate that we have a naturally easterly facing bay, which means the water's generally quite calm for those kind of water sports, be it water skiing, paddleboarding, canoeing and kayaking, and also sailing. So taking more of those opportunities, there's more exciting things to do, I would say, than being taken to build a sandcastle when you're there. And also, you'd still have all the traditional things around a seaside resort that people expect, but maybe slightly less of what we previously had and slightly more of those more adventurous types of activities that people want to do now.
Amazing. I must admit that paddleboarding is one of my big weaknesses. My ankles just seem so weak when I stand up. Can you stand up on a paddleboard?
I can, yes, but again, it took a lot of practice to do it, and I cheated. I did it on a river first of all before I did it on the sea.
Well, here's to many more people taking up paddleboarding in Torbay. So Torbay Council, so there's three big towns within that, is that right? That's
right. So it's made up of Torquay and Paignton, they're similar size, and Brixham, which is a bit smaller, it's probably half the size of Paignton, and they're all unique places. They all have something different to offer. Again, we are very much focused on changing for visitors, and that isn't just people that come down for a week or 2 weeks on holiday. I grew up here 25 years ago, and quite a lot of my time was spent coming from what's called the South Hams or South Devon into Torbay, because that's where you went for your leisure activities when you went out in the evening. That's changed over that 25-year period, and quite a lot of what we want to do is to get relatively local people back into Torbay to come and consume what we have to offer as a visitor attraction locally.
Nice. And we've got the coffees and water there for you there, David, on cue. So a lot of time and money is being spent in the area. I suppose, top line, what is, like you've explained what regeneration means, but what is the vision for what we're about to do next?
So we have to take forward a number of projects which we think we've got enough money to deliver. We have to attract private sector investment because the private sector need to run and operate many of the physical interventions we're making. When I say physical interventions, we're going to take a building that was once a shop and make it into a hotel or a restaurant. We as the council don't run hotels and restaurants. That's what the private sector do. We have to talk to the private sector to see what would they like, what would they invest in, what would they come and run a business as. That's both local businesses who've been hugely helpful in the regeneration, and part of the really nice part of my job is I spend quite a lot of my time talking to local businesses to understand what it is that they want to see which would make them be able to expand or retain their customers.
It's really interesting. I guess we're talking about construction here, but already you're speaking about so many different facets and relationships and different job roles that I can already almost identify. There's a lot of jobs in this, isn't there?
Absolutely. And again, clearly we're here from Build Torbay, and construction jobs and inspiring people to come and take and do what I do, which is, I would say, is one of the best jobs that you could have because of the range of things that you get to do. And also you get to meet a lot of people that you otherwise wouldn't have done. And that's inspiring in its own sense to see how they operate. But yeah, my skill is knowing how to build something. But I don't have the skill of what is it going to be used for. So other people help us with that process. And then by asking and talking to people, it's a really simple thing. What is it that you would like to do? But also, what will you do if we do this? So if we build a building, will you come and take a lease for a restaurant on it? That is very much what part of regeneration is understanding what would work and then delivering that. The businesses themselves don't want the risk and hassle of building a building. They'll just lease the premises once it's built. So that's our job, and that's how we work hand in glove with them. And I have to say, it's been really pleasurable to do all of that networking with local people to find out what it is they want. Hopefully more people will come forward to say, could you just do this? Within the realms of possibility, we will try and achieve what everybody wants. But regeneration isn't just one project, it's a series of different projects that across Torbay and the three towns, because they're all different, they all offer something different, creates a desirable place to come. And also, very simply, one of the outcomes of regeneration is to have more people visiting, both locally, regionally, nationally and globally. And frankly, they will also hopefully spend more money in our local economy, which drives local employment and helps people invest money because they see it as a place that's on the up rather than the place that's in decline.
Yeah, no, I love it. I can see the vision. So paddleboarding, I understand, redistributing and reusing buildings to match with the new vision of the area. What about some other key priorities? I think I've heard about big development, the Strand, is that right?
That's right. So at the moment, the Strand was a former department store, or half of it was. One was a Boots, and Boots had relocated further up the high street in Torquay, and the other had been a reasonably successful cafe, restaurant and bar, which was locally known as Mambo's, which was a attractive. All those buildings, none of them are in use. So it tells you everything where, and the Strand is on Torquay Harbour. It overlooks the ocean and it overlooks a harbour with boats in it. So it's quite an attractive place to be and spend time. But for reasons of economics and currently retail not being, physical retail, like physical shops not being favoured by the public, that whole street didn't have any purpose. There was only one shop out of the 6 premises that's still open. So we looked at it, and it's a fantastic opportunity. It's a very rare opportunity. They don't come around like that to put in something where the architecture is hopefully spectacular. And people so far, when we've shown the imagery of what we intend to build on that site, people have really liked it. 90% of people that we've engaged with through the process have said that they are in favour of what we're trying to do. That's rare. That level of public acceptability is rare. But also the intention is that the whole block would become a upscale hotel. That's important, and we've spoken to investors who are very interested in taking the premises and operating the premises. So that tells us all we need to know, that commercially the product has worked. What we intend to do with the site has worked. We still have to go through planning, and all of that comes with it. But that's the vision. The building itself, lovely though it hopefully is to most people's views, actually is going to create employment for the long term, and that's one of the purposes of using the site. We could have put residential accommodation on it, but we decided that we would have something that had long-term employment, because that will drive regeneration in the town. It will give local people job opportunities. We hope the education system, which was once really good in Torbay for creating leisure and hospitality trainees, that will come back again to a certain level.
I love it. So if I'm maybe a young person in school or college at the moment, or potentially someone who's looking to change their career, what are some like easy opportunities that I might be able to get my head around to get involved in what you're doing at the moment?
So I think first of all is go and find out what it is, and do you like the idea of being in construction? Do you like the idea of being hospitality? I can tell you in my own life, I worked in a pub and a restaurant for 5 years while I was studying A-levels and went to university. So I've done both, and actually one of the most pleasurable things was working in hospitality. It was great fun. You met people. You had all the social conditioning that you needed to do to deal with people. The public can be fickle and interesting when you deal with them. If you're working behind a bar or you're serving as a waiter, as I did, and then those skills are replicable when you come into the construction industry, because you have to talk to people to find out what a client wants. When they want you to build a building, you have to speak to them, you have to understand what it is, and you have to get a level of trust with them. All of that comes through those basic skills. So the Strand and what it produces, yes, it will produce construction jobs, and that's absolutely great if you're interested in those technical things and you're naturally somebody who wants to create something. I think quite a lot of maybe the perception of construction, it's all about health and safety and filling in forms, but most of construction is about being creative. And it goes from, Lego blocks as a child and how you want to do it. You could be artistically creative or you can be physically creative. So construction is being physically creative. How do you take materials? How do you make them work? And how do you make something that looks fantastic? So it's a very exciting thing in that part of the process.
I love it. And I suppose, surely in 5 years, or I don't know how long the Strand might take to develop, but looking back and looking over the river or the bay to be like, yep, that was me, I was involved in that. That must feel good.
Oh, there's an immense sense of satisfaction. And I should say there's hundreds of people involved in the Strand. I'm just a lucky one that as a director of regeneration, I get to see it all happen, or hopefully happen in the next few years. But you're absolutely right. And all the people who are involved in that will have a piece of it, and they'll look at it and say, that was me, I helped deliver that building, and it hopefully will be there for generations to come, and people can say that they were involved in it. There's nothing better than that, particularly if you've built something physical. What we do tends to be, if you like, memorable, hopefully in a positive sense. So that's another reason to get into it. If that is something that you want job satisfaction, it's not a clerical job, so you actually do have to do something physical, and that does leave a legacy for society.
And David, I just want to pick into your career a little bit, if that's okay, because some of us go to university, some of us maybe don't need to go to university anymore, but you did go to uni. But before you went to uni, what did you study at A-level? Did you do sort of A-levels?
I did, and I did 9 GCSEs, and I did 3 A-levels, and I did maths, physics, and economics.
All the hard ones.
And I suppose so. The economics has actually been the most useful out of all of them. I mean, I went to university to be a civil engineer, so you needed maths and physics to do it. But the economics, I think, is where it's got me to the position I am today, to understand what it is we create, what value it has to society, both economically and socially. Geography is another good degree to do at A-level if you want to do what we do, because that's another understanding of society's interaction with the physical world.
Okay, but you don't have to go to uni anymore to get into these opportunities. For example, could I join the workforce straight from school? Are there apprenticeships on offer?
So in a former part of my career, I worked in the private sector, and I ran what is now a large global engineering company called WSP, and I was the regional director for the Southwest. We took people from 16, from GCSEs, we put them through training, both vocational and academic training, and many of the best people that I worked with came through that route. I think that the academic route is absolutely fine to get a degree and to come into that level, but the practical experience that people had, and they were earning money while they did it. And many firms will offer this to people. It's a great way to get into the industry. And also, you work in an office, so you have the socialisation of working in an office and all the going out with the team that happens as well. So, and many of the people that still work in the industry that we recruited 20 years ago came through that route. At the time, this is the mid-1990s, if you had an engineering degree, you tended to go into finance in the city, which is great because it pays well. But so there was a shortage of supply. So we were taking people from 16-year-olds from GCSEs and A-levels. And I know, again, at the moment, the industry is still struggling to recruit graduates, and that those training programs still exist in the private sector and in the public sector.
And apprenticeship-wise, so we're going to speak to a few today on our podcast series that are in trades, because we know about trade apprenticeships, but you can also do site management, you can be a quantity surveyor, a construction manager, so you can do an apprenticeship and sit in an office as well, can't you?
You can do, and you don't have to be on site. I mean, I would say the thrill of construction is being on site when it's being built. Yes, there is probably more time in the office prior to building something. We seem to spend as much time planning things as we do building them. But all those other professions that go into it, absolutely, the route through, you can go straight from school and do a graduate apprenticeship to do it. Lots of firms offer that route in, and again, it's a really good way potentially of avoiding big student debt fees if that's the way you want to go. And also as well, it's probably a smoother route in, because the big problem with going to do a degree and having all the academic training that goes with it is that you don't have any practical experience when you land, or little. So if you do it through the apprenticeship route, you get the practical experience, and there's nothing like understanding the application of what you've learned on a day-to-day basis. I can testify the fact that having landed a job after university when I got my degree, I really didn't know very much about what I actually had to do practically. I knew the technical understanding of it, and those people who'd come through that vocational route or what you'd now call a degree apprenticeship, they were much further on in their careers in the early part of the work that we did, because they knew, and I had to apply what I learned to the practical reality of what we were trying to do.
Yeah, you do actually hear there's an easier chance to get into a job as an apprentice than there is as a graduate, because it's slightly less competitive sometimes. I just wonder, if I did choose that route in the local area, what practical steps could I take today to try and start meeting people like yourself potentially?
I mean, maybe in society today there's a reluctance to just reach out. I've made myself available to go into schools, to go and talk about it, to talk about what I do, and also to try and inspire. Almost sounds terribly arrogant that you inspire people. You want to try and put something in people's mind to say this is a good career.
To show them, yeah.
There is a shortage of people doing what we do for it. And again, the more people that want to do this, actually the better the industry is at delivering the changes that we need. So that's what I say. So reach out, go to the events that you do, and actually come and speak to somebody live. The reason that I chose to train as a civil engineer was I went to a careers fair when I was 15 at Kevix, which is a local school in Totnes, and I met somebody who was a civil engineer, and they inspired me to think I want to do that. So I think it is a case of you can look at all the materials that you have, but there's nothing like speaking to somebody that does it for real, and then you can paint a picture to people of what it's like. It isn't for everybody, like lots of different professions are. I can't envisage being a fisherman and being, away for 6 days at sea. And we deal with lots of the fishermen at Brixham that do that. They seem to love it. It's a lifestyle that they like. So you have to find out what's right for you. And the other thing is, life isn't, as I can testify at 50 years old, life isn't so immediate that choice that you make, you're then stuck with it. So it is a case of try it, see if you like it. If it's for you and you find out it is, absolutely stick with it. And the other thing I can say from my own experience is you have periods in your career, the particularly early part, where have I made the right decision or not? Sometimes just doing the job for a few years gets you to the point where you'll realise you're quite good at this and you quite enjoy it. Initially, it can seem overwhelming. So you need to have a period of time where you work it out and work out it's for you. If it's not, go and do something else. If it is for you, it's a hugely rewarding career.
And it's quite nice you just said that, because it's almost like you could try working in this sector and then go to university later if you wanted to. I mean, you did a master's, right? You can pick and choose when you do things in life, can't you?
Absolutely. And one of my deepest regrets is probably not taking some time out between studying and going to work. I went straight into it. I mean, I've had fantastic fun and I've travelled as a result of it all, but I didn't necessarily have some time to sort of absorb all of this and decide what I want to do. And it's all, don't worry, it's all turned out well. But I think that pressure on young people to succeed and that this is a prescribed route, absolutely not. The other thing we all need to remember is the skills that we pick up in a particular industry can be used elsewhere. And I think experience is what you get probably when you're looking for something else. But you've got it, and once you've got it, and once you know how to deal with situations, much of work is knowing how to deal with situations, not your technical acumen. It's how do I convince a group of people that the course of action that I'm doing is correct, or it's having the humility to say the course of action that I'm taking isn't right and I'm going to change it. And I think that's a skill that you can learn in any apprenticeship, because you'll be dealing with people. The one thing academia doesn't necessarily do for you is it doesn't expose you to different views. So you're receiving information which is technical and it's subject matter, as opposed to the reality of what I do every day, where I'm dealing with people that have a range of views and opinions, and I need to listen to them to understand what it is that they are saying, and I also need to influence them and advocate what I'm doing. So there's an element of what we do which, unless you have an interaction with people at an early age, you will struggle with initially. We'll get there in the end, but we live in a society that's a social society that's about views and opinions. So being able to understand, and that comes back to if you've done some waitressing or some bar work in your early teens while you are studying as well, that's hugely helpful in socialising you to the reality of dealing with the general public.
Yeah, no, I like it. And David, we could go on and on. We will have to wrap up shortly, but just some things I'm learning from you. You said things and skills that might work well to get into your industry. Creativity, you mentioned geography, you mentioned economics. The thing that inspires me as someone who's not that academic, you mentioned communication and persuasion skills. Literally, it feels like there's a lot of opportunities here for people depending on what skill sets they have.
Yeah, so there are still lots of people that I used to work with who are technical specialists who like nothing more than sitting in an office behind a computer, doing the calculations, doing the mathematics, doing the drawings, and that's great, and they get well paid for doing it. But ultimately, what we're trying to do in construction is change society for the better. Most of what we do is usually for the public sector with public money. So you have to advocate that. We live in a democracy. Everybody has a range of opinions on whether what you're doing is right or wrong. In the age of social media, that's even more important, that you have a clear and consistent message and that you know how to relate to people. Sometimes you can get over a problem by just going out for a cup of coffee with somebody and saying, okay, you've been very upset about this. Can you explain to me why this is and how do you feel about it? It takes time, but it's necessary. If we didn't live in the society we lived in, where views and opinions didn't matter, A, the outcomes would probably be a lot worse, and B, you wouldn't be shaping what you're doing to deliver positive benefit and change for people.
Thank you. And I must just say, construction sector is the second highest paid sector in the economy. So like it's not like you're going to be out of pocket working here.
No, it is very good industry. I think as well, if you're prepared initially in your career to travel as well, it's very good. And if you get inspired by travelling around to see different things, I have an encyclopedic knowledge of the UK's railway system from my time as a consultant, because you sat on trains going to places to go to meetings with clients. And if you like it, it's great fun. So it absolutely, and yeah, it does pay reasonably well. I given my current employer, I wouldn't want to say too well, but it pays reasonably well.
No, thank you. And I won't ask you any further details on that, David, don't worry. Okay, so just to wrap up, it's been really great hearing everything that you've been telling us. Let's do a little pitch, if you like. So let's try and say, for those who are leaving school or college, those who are maybe looking at career changes or looking at their options, if I'm not going to go to university, I'm going to stay local, work local, and get into your sector. Why should I get involved in that project?
Because ultimately, working in the construction industry is fun. And I think it's underestimated and underrated how much time you spend at work, and therefore, is it a pleasurable place to be? In construction, you work with people, a variety of different people. If you like that because you're a social animal, that's for you. As I said, there is also jobs for technical specialists who are perhaps less gregarious in their nature, but it is great fun. I have met some fantastic people, friendships over the years, and also times. You remember times because unlike many jobs where you go into an office every day or you go into a shop every day or into an education institution, we might go to the same place for 9 months and never go there again because we go to somewhere else and we go to somewhere else. So there's an element in construction of the novelty of change, and that's what I would recommend it to people. There's barely been a day in my 30 years as a civil engineer that I've been bored.
And there you go. And I love it. David, it's been brilliant to speak to you today. Thank you so much. I mean, look, regeneration projects happening in Torbay. Do check out the website, Build Torbay, Google it and have a look into some of these projects. David Carter, would you be okay if people added you on LinkedIn?
Absolutely, yeah.
From the council. And I just want to maybe finish with one line you mentioned there that I think's a lovely way to end, which is get involved and change society for the better. David, thanks very much.
Thank you, Chris.